start yapping. I'm sorry, that was rude. No, that's what I do best. So classic. Okay. Hello, folks. Okay. Cool. Maybe a little bit, yeah. And then, is the presentation down here, or do I? Yeah, go to my Firefox. Here we go. Okay, let's hope the stream is all good. How much reach do I have? Okay. I think we should be fine. Sorry to the ears of the people online. Okay, hello everybody. How are we doing tonight? Look at me addressing y'all like I'm a comedian.
On the stream, it's not in PowerPoint mode.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Ooh, that's important.
Joke.
What do you call the president of the Game Developers Club? That's facts. That's a great answer. Yeah, somebody remembers. Wait, so it's not showing this?
No, which is bizarre. Look, man.
It's all good here. What's up? Oh, interesting. Yeah, we definitely want to have the slides full screen.
Honestly, that might just be okay. Oh, we got something.
Did that work?
Something happened.
Well, I made it bigger. What about now?
Yeah, that works.
Yay! Okay, awesome. Okay, hello. I'm gonna just go for the top, just for the people who are watching a recording. But hello, everybody. How's it going? It's almost like I said that 5 minutes ago, and then we had tech difficulties. Just to introduce myself real quick, my name is Rick Jenkins. I'm the president of the UMBC Game Developers Club. And tonight we're going to be going on with the Tabletop Design Seminar in collaboration with the wonderful Tabletop Gaming Club. So give it up to the folks. Okay, so if you're here, that means you're probably at least somewhat interested in building a tabletop game. When it comes to tabletop games, that can be a little bit vague depending on who you ask or if you've never heard the term, but we'll get to that to just a second. So if we could have everybody please fill this out. SABSC requires attendance for all folks, so you guys are currently munching on pizza. They will get very mad at us if they think that we just held this for the 4 of us. That would be pretty bad. So if you guys could please fill this out, that way we don't get in administrative trouble, and because we would also just like to see how many people came out tonight. We got a lot of folks in here, so once again, thank you for coming out. I'm gonna give that another second for people to get that done. Okay, that's probably good. Not that one. Okay, so what actually defines a tabletop game? So for the folks in the Tabletop Gaming Club, this is probably pretty clear. But for my folks from the Game Developers Club, we're going to go over that. So some people may think of like very simple classic games like chess. Now chess has got a board, some pieces, and some rules to follow. Sure, tabletop game. What about Catan? Catan's a little bit more involved. Got a big old board, some roads you put down, pieces and everything that you have to look out for. There's a more vague end state. In chess, you know, you're trying to capture the king. But in Catan, you're going over and trying to get 10 victory points, and the way in which you do that can change. That's a tabletop game. Okay, what about party games like Cards Against Humanity? A terrible game, to be honest, depending on who you ask, but a party game nonetheless, something that brings people together to go ahead and like hang out, have a good time, have a good laugh, less goal-oriented, more fun. Scrabble, the game that your grandma loves, and maybe what happens to be a game I actually enjoy quite a bit, makes me feel smart. A sense of accomplishment helps test your knowledge a little bit. Also a tabletop game. Pokemon. For the sake of this, we are also considering Pokemon cards and other trading card games, collectible card games, tabletop games. If you can play with cards on a table and it has some kind of inherent value to the cards that you're using, that's a tabletop game. What about Dungeons & Dragons? So this is a tabletop role-playing game. Where are my Dungeons & Dragons people at? Yeah, give a cheer so that the people can hear you. I saw a lot of hand goes up. So What did he say? Pathfinder is better.
GURPS is best. GURPS is best.
Okay, we got some hecklers in this crowd, y'all. Maybe I am a comedian. Okay. So, also, things like Warhammer, where you're painting miniatures. Some people may not know this, but stuff like Warhammer actually do have rules. That was something I learned very recently, to be honest with you. But Warhammer, painting miniatures, it all leads to some kind of game, right? So, for the sake of today's presentation, these are all tabletop games. If I'm correct on that, I don't know, but this is what we're going with. So, the thing that they all have in common is that they're games played on a flat surface using physical components. So for the sake of today's presentation, we're not really considering digital versions of these games. We're mainly focusing on, excuse me, the physical games. All right? So what's the goal of tabletop games? So I'm sure a lot of you picture tabletop games and you're probably thinking like, oh, board games, right? So board games is a subset of tabletop games. It's not the entire scope of them, but let's be real. The goal of games like this is to bring people together, to give us a chance to hang out with people, not in the presence of phone screens, give us a chance to have a fun time, make some memories, and even maybe have a competitive aspect to it for things like trading card games like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Digimon, all that. All these games seek to have a purpose, and that's to bring us together, to compete, to collaborate, and to make memories. So now we get to like the actual demonstrational part of this. So how do you make a tabletop game? The steps that I'm about to describe to you are not linear. It's something that's very important to remember is making a tabletop game is a very iterative process. You're not going to go step 1, step 2, step 3. You're going to end up repeating some steps several times to make sure that you can get to the point where your product is finished and nice and enjoyable. So with that in mind, the first step, which can be a first step, it can happen multiple times, is getting inspiration. So I'm sure several of you, if you're coming to this event, probably have some kind of idea of what kind of game you want to make. Can I see a show of hands of people who want to make a game? Okay, and the other people are here for pizza. Wonderful. I knew that would work. That's great. So getting inspiration. Maybe you have a game idea already, but in case you're kind of having trouble where to start, you just wanted to come out, be a part of the event series that we're hosting here, just kind of learn a little bit, that's fine too. But when it comes to getting inspired, you got to just play games. I feel like this also applies to like typical digital games. Something we tell our members in the Game Developers Club is just play games, and that's a good way to just come up with an idea. Maybe you find a mechanic you like, maybe you play a certain genre. And so like in the context of tabletop games, that could be playing party games, playing role-playing games, playing stuff like just like deck builders, engine builders. It doesn't matter. The style of game is not important. As long as you play a wide range of games, you can kind of learn what you need to do to make a cool one yourself. And so this kind of helps you figure out what you want your game to be. When it comes to making a tabletop game, it's a very long process, especially if you want to do it right. So kind of coming up with a good idea is a great starting point. And so you want to think about like the story, what your player might be doing, how the game plays, all that. So when it comes to brainstorming, this also kind of goes inside with finding inspirations, but it's kind of like a next step. This is where you're really like ironing out your idea, or at least trying to. More often than not, when you're trying to make your game, you're going to find yourself struggling with the identity of your project. Maybe you want to add a cool system. Maybe there's something you really like in like a game like Catan. Maybe you really like the whole victory points, how there's multiple ways to win. So picking out features and stuff like that that you find desirable in other card games or other board games, other tabletop games, is a great way to go about brainstorming. But sometimes you can't just tape it all together. You kind of need to figure out what works with what. And so this is kind of that phase when you start really figuring out what your game should be. This is where you iron out your key features, figuring out what kind of components you're going to use, things like pieces, dice, all that, what you need to play the game pretty much. And it's also important to not get lost in the scope creep of making the project. Something my Game Developers Club folks should know very well is I'm very big on scope. If you overscope your game, we're going to tell you. Your project probably won't be done in a semester, and that's definitely the case with tabletop games, if not a bigger issue. When it comes to projects like these, you really need to playtest and consider what is the absolute minimum I need to build this game, and then go from there. When you have that core implementation, sure, then you can add on specialized like encounters, maybe some extra cards or stuff you need to play the game. But at a bare minimum, when you're brainstorming, you really just got to think about that core concept. And so this can come to like how you tell the story, what characters you have, and don't go too big. Having a good world and stuff for your game and stuff in concept in mind, all these like different ideas is great. But we want to keep it small scope to start with, and then when you get started to like play testing, you figure out, man, we really need a mechanic to do this. That's when you start adding content. So I'm big on scope, and that should be clear. So the next phase is making your prototype. So when it comes to making tabletop games, you of course got to have somebody play it. You're not going to get it right on the first try. There's no way. Nobody gets it right on the first try. I don't care how perfect your idea is, how great your implementation was. It's not going to be perfect. You need to make a rough early version of your game so that people can get their hands on and play it. So a game like Catan isn't built in a single night. You have to think about what the different things you need to do in order to make your players have fun. They didn't just get it right on the first time. They probably thought, wow, if somebody keeps rolling the same number, it's too unbalanced. If somebody's like put next to something that has a higher chance of winning, they're probably just going to win. So they introduce mechanics like the robber. And that's only like discovered after you prototype. Prototyping is so important because you need to see people play your game to understand what's going wrong with it. So building a prototype is not the same as playtesting. We'll get to that in a second. But prototype is literally just making a very simple version of your core game idea. Remember the stuff with scope I just said. It's not just building this massive game and then you make every card, you make every piece. Your prototype is going to be your minimum value product. Minimum viable product. It basically gets across the idea that you're trying to sell. And even if you don't plan on selling it, it's very important so that you know what the game is. And if it works, the prototype is your first like intro into feedback and stuff. So to make one of these, they're pretty simple. And when I mean prototype, I mean prototype. When it comes to video games, you use like programmer arts, you got your red and blue squares moving around and everything. That's kind of what this is for tabletop games. So for my game developer folks, how many times have you like made an art asset only to realize you don't need it? Like, it's the same thing with this stuff. If you didn't prototype your games, you wouldn't know what works, what doesn't work, what systems you're going to use. And so making a very, very simple version of your game should be your like first step when it comes to really getting to implementation. Also, this shouldn't take you long to make. Like, if you have your core game idea already ironed out and everything, you should just spend time drawing on a couple cards, making a couple pieces, organizing what would go where, maybe thinking about the layout. But that's pretty much it. It would take you maybe a day max. And so part of that leads into what we got going on soon. It's not the slide I was expecting. When you're prototyping, you got to keep a couple things in mind. If you make everything physically and you need to make a change to your prototype, you're going to have to physically go there, maybe erase what you have there for values to tweak. That could be a lot to do. If you have like 30 cards and you realize using a range of like 1 to 10 isn't satisfactory for giving enough diversity of like card values, maybe that's like power. Maybe your power system goes to like 10. But you're like, oh man, it would be better if I had a more nuanced system that goes to 20. You could just use a spreadsheet to keep track of all of those values. So whether that's like Google Sheets, Excel, something like that, it's very important to organize what your pieces and stuff do. That way in the future, when you need to go change those variables, you don't have to go like physically write it on. And this is especially important if you end up prototyping your game digitally. So one of the things that I came across a lot when like looking into this topic of prototyping, everybody was like, you need to make a digital copy. It's very important to have a physical copy, of course, because you get to see how it plays on the hands. But when it comes to like, well, okay, to be fair, certain games won't play as well digitally. That's a matter of fact. Some games have a more active thing like rolling the dice, or maybe it has something interesting about the concept that just can't be done online. And that's completely fine, like stacking things, for example. Like, it'd be kind of hard to play Jenga if VR didn't exist, right? So think about stuff like that. But digital prototypes are really nice because you can iterate on them quickly and easily. Another thing we wanted to include here is Dexterous. Dexterous is this like tabletop card builder like website that we've seen several projects use in like at least the research I did for this presentation. that kind of go over how to make these changes quickly. So Dexterous is this platform where you can like draw out your cards. But if you're similar, like if you're a computer science major, you know how like variables can change easily. You can slot in new values, change stuff really easily. That's what Dexterous is. It feels like programming for tabletop. It's pretty cool. And you can export this stuff to things like the Tabletop Simulator. Show of hands, who has used the Tabletop Simulator? Okay, that's not as many as I was expecting, to be honest. The Tabletop Simulator is like a game where you get to make and play games. It basically simulates the whole like action of meeting with other people, like having the cards on the table and being able to do actions just digitally. It's great if you want to play games like, for example, I keep using Catan as the example. I play other games, guys, please, I promise. But like in Catan, you have 4 players, right? You can't really play it by yourself. And they have digital versions, but you can also play one on the Tabletop Simulator where you're placing the roads, drawing the cards and everything, and you could do that online. And so if you use Dexterous, you can just like change these values in your spreadsheet, and in like 2 clicks, you can update your copy in the Tabletop Simulator, which is super cool. So I've never used it before, full transparency, but like it looks really cool. So another thing to keep in mind is when you're doing art, this is kind of what I was saying with like sprites and stuff, don't lean too heavy into your art direction immediately. Because if you start commissioning art for these prototyped assets that you don't end up using, dude, what are you gonna do when you like have to change or throw out the entire mechanic? Art is expensive, y'all. Shout out my artists, but they have to make their like living off of selling their stuff for a premium, and that totally makes sense. But you as a developer need to save that cost where you can because games get expensive, right? Okay, so that's prototyping. Shameless plug, y'all. Look at this. Y'all made it to the 21st. Clap it up. Glad to see you here. But we were just talking about prototyping, and what happens to be the second event of our series is the 28th. So what's awesome about next week's meeting, I know we haven't even gotten through this one yet, so you haven't even gotten the chance to figure out if you're coming back or not, but what's awesome is next week, we're going to give you guys an opportunity to prototype your own game under the supervision of the Tabletop Club. So if Josh wants to come up here and talk about that real quick, we're just going to briefly go over this. Clap it up for Josh.
Hi. Okay, there's a Hi, so anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Josh. I am the president of the Tabletop Gaming Club. Dang. Disrespect, pizza. Okay. So I am the president of the Tabletop Gaming Club. I have been doing this for a while now. This event has been like 2 years in the making, Rick.
Yeah, Josh and I talked about this probably since we knew each other playing Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
So the fact that we can really make this happen is a pretty big thing for us.
It's incredible.
And so we thank you all for coming out today.
Yeah.
Appreciate
So next week is the prototyping event, and what that is we will be providing you with a ton of supplies. We literally just ordered all the supplies like 2 days ago. We got like, I want to say $290 worth of supplies for y'all. And we got blank playing cards for you to draw on real quick to make prototypes. We have blank dice. We have blank meeples. We have a bunch of different craft and art supplies for you to use in order to make your very simple, very quick prototype. And doing this, we like after this event, after this week, we're going to send you home with some homework to start brainstorming a topic, start brainstorming an idea of what you want to do. Part of that homework could be, another shameless plug, you could come to the Tabletop Gaming Club on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 7 to 10 in ILSB 116A to hang out and play games. Just really try to understand and get an idea of different game mechanics. But yeah, we want you to just try to figure out an idea, make an idea, start thinking, and then next week, next Friday, same time, different place, ILSB 116A. We are going to be meeting and making a bunch of games. We're going to be making prototypes, and so we just want you to make prototypes and have fun. Just really get into it. And then after that, we're gonna have an entire event where we're gonna play test all of your games,
Which we'll get into.
which we will get into later. But yeah, I just really hope y'all can come out next week. It's going to be really awesome. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Josh. Okay. Wojaks and panhandling aside, let's get on to probably the most important part of tabletop game design. If you guys couldn't tell by like the comments I made earlier, playtesting is incredibly important. You got to have people play your game. This is true regardless of what kind of game you're making, whether it's tabletop, it's digital. If you're making just like, I don't know, like a spoken game, I don't know what you'd have to do. You have to test things, right? So this kind of goes past the prototyping phase. Prototyping is the act of making the like bare minimum product you can make. Playtesting is like the act of playing it. So like, you need to get people to see this game. You need a bunch of people to see this game. You can't just have your core 4 friends play it because they won't offer all the perspectives that you need. And so this kind of helps if you're on like a diverse campus like UMBC, or you're in an area that a lot of people come to, you have great opportunities to do stuff like playtesting. And so the main benefit of playtesting is making sure you get feedback that you can improve your game with, because especially if you plan to sell this, or like you try to take it further or make it mass available, you have to playtest. And when I say you have to playtest, I don't mean like 2 days. Like where you bring it to club, maybe you show the guys in the tabletop gaming club. You're like, hey guys, play my game. And they're like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. No, dude, you got to go like hard with playtesting. So this can take up to a year, maybe more, especially if you're trying to be real serious about the game feel. This is incredibly important, and I don't want you guys to like sleep on playtesting. It mainly helps you find the issues with your game and improve on them. It's the stuff on the slides too. But what's after playtesting? I wonder if you guys can guess this one. Do you guys know what's after playtesting? Goddamn right. Playtesting, baby. If you guys didn't think you were playtesting, you're playtesting. Make sure you play this. Like, whether this is like just hanging out with your friends playing it, finding a group of people just like hanging out in the game room and bothering them for some reason, probably don't do that. But, you know, just get people to play your games. Okay, and then after that, what's after that? I heard somebody say playtesting. That's damn right. It's playtesting. You better be playtesting. If you're not playtesting, you better be. So keep in mind, there's tons of organizations that let you do this. Places like the IGDA, which for my non-game developers folks, that's the International Game Developers Association. We got Artscape. Artscape is a local like art festival, and they often hold events where people can come off and show games called Gamescape, and they have great opportunities for folks looking to make tabletop games like the ones that you guys are about to create. Also, you have Baltimore Indie Games. This is a Facebook group and kind of a community who's really all about testing games. So when it comes to playtesting, there's a lot of avenues. And also, don't forget MagFest or GDC. All these different places. GDC is the Game Developers Conference, by the way. Too many acronyms, y'all. But MagFest is hosted locally as well, the Music and Games Fest. It's a lot of fun. Scott went, had a great time. They got a lot of great games from, I feel like I'm doing a promotion for them. They should pay me. I'm not going to go too much on that. But yeah, play test your games, y'all. I'm serious. Yeah.
What, does Maryland have an IGDA chapter?
Does Maryland have an IGDA chapter? That's a wonderful question. Yes, they do. They actually have one in Baltimore, and they also are working on one in DC. So what's up?
That's up.
Yeah.
Oh, it's up? Okay, well, look at that. We have 2 in the local area. I've personally been to the Baltimore IGDA meetings, and they're great. The network of like industry professionals who work either in video games, some of them in tabletop games. Every time I've been to one of their meetings, they've had a corner just like tucked away of people playtesting tabletop games. So if you're looking to really get serious about this, these organizations are going to be like your best friend for the sake of like finding a community, getting your game in front of people. So do not sleep on playtesting. I bet you guys thought I was going to have another slide about playtesting. We're finally done. But I do have another shameless plug. Like Josh had mentioned previously, our 3rd meeting of this event series is dedicated to playtesting. What better way to start off your idea by having people get a hands-on look at what your game is? And so that's happening on the 7th. I got a funny graphic to put up there. In case you forgot, that's March 7th. ILSB 116A. I low-key forgot where the room was. Could you guys tell by the cadence of my voice? But yes, we're going to be playtesting your games. And something that's really cool that we were able to do for this project, and honestly, to be honest with you, the main inspiration between our collaboration was to be able to give you guys motivation to play with other people. And something we're going to be doing is judging the games that come out of these events. And the people who we pick to like be the winners will be getting funds to go print copies of your games from Common Vision. So if you ever wanted to make a game a reality, dude, this is like your best chance at UMBC. So we have funding allocated for people to print out their games once you guys get like a formal idea, and it's going to be great. Also, it's going to be fun. Even for the folks who don't come to this first meeting, if they want to come by and prototype a game and then come playtest other people's, it should be fun. For my game developers, even if you're not planning on making tabletop games, maybe you're sticking to digital, the act of game design is not just electronic. You can learn a lot about how to create great game loops and stuff like that through the act of playing in person. You also have immediate feedback with the people playing your project. So make sure you guys come out to our following events as well. I'm not asking. Okay. See, can you guys tell I like Catan? I'm a big Catan guy. I played Colonist like maybe 24 hours ago. What's up, man? What's up? Oh, man. So the thing is I have like 2 of them. Catan is a great game, and I think it depends on the type of people you're with. If you got some diehard Catan fans, you got to go with Cities and Nights. That's an easy answer. If you're with a bunch of people who are maybe new to it, maybe they played a couple times, I would probably say go with like Seafarers is the one that I like. I have those 2. I would comment on the others, but I haven't played them. But yes, big Catan fan. All right. As you guys can probably tell, like I said, it's an iterative process. Your game is not just going to be like 1.0 and ship. It doesn't work like that. You're going to have to get the game in front of people, get them to play it. And after you get all that feedback, you're going to go back and really like get in the workshop and start tinkering your game and making sure things start looking right and playing right. And this is happening in between these playtesting sessions. When you playtest, make some changes. Playtest, make some changes. That's what this is all about. You may need to change your rules, update how many things people can do in a turn, formalize like what the game loop actually looks like and what the game plays like. Question?
Also, can I give a quick comment on like iteration?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so like D&D started off in the mid-70s, and the current version, like 5th edition, like revised, isn't even like the 5th edition. Like there's nearly 10 different editions across nearly like 50 years.
Yeah, so if you guys couldn't hear that, what they had said is D&D, probably the most popular tabletop role-playing game, I would have to say. I can't think of any others. D&D has gone through countless revisions. Over the years, the game has continued to flourish mainly, and I would probably argue, because of its revisions. If the game stayed stale and didn't improve on itself, it'd probably like fall away. Think about all these games that get sequels. A lot, like Mario didn't just release Mario, right? You see the later ones, Mario 2, Mario 3, Mario World, all that stuff. Iteration and improvement is incredibly important to the whole thing of game development. So don't forget to iterate and improve off the feedback you get. Incredibly important. And some best practices. We're almost at the end, y'all, but I want to give you guys a quick like crash course on things you want to keep in mind. Because when it comes to tabletop game development, a lot of us are probably starting out. Anybody actually in here make a tabletop game before? I'm seeing like 4.5 hands. Okay. Yeah, I'll give that a 1. You count to the 5. Let's call it 5. A couple one of these, but yeah, so that makes me happy to see that you guys are still interested in making this. Real quick, y'all, can I get your attention one more time? Okay. What I was saying, best practices. So these are things to keep in mind as you're making your game. Obviously, it's easy to get lost in the sauce and just kind of do whatever you want when it comes to your game. But don't forget, your game may be this like grand, like super glued mess of all the game mechanics you like. But just make sure that you can keep your rules simple enough to where people can still play your game, right? How many times have you gone to a friend's house? Maybe it's just the friends, but I play board games a lot. If you go to a friend's house and they're like, oh, let's play this board game, and then it takes you like 45 minutes to learn, you're probably sitting there like, bro, like, let's do something else. This is taking too long. So make sure your rules, they can be complicated, but make sure you like at least make them digestible. That's important. Also, kind of with the iterations, having replayability is really important, making sure that there's mechanics that encourage people to come back to it. I don't know how many of you guys have done this, but have you ever bought a board game or any kind of tabletop game, picked it up, played it once, and go, wow, there's really no reason for me to ever play this again? I have. So it's like,
That's because my brother ended up creating the game breaking strats.
okay, well, somebody figures out the hacks, and then you can't play anymore. That's also a valid thing. And that actually goes into another one of my points. Yeah, absolutely right. Playtesting will find all those issues. And the thing is you also, maybe there is a best strategy. Maybe something falls through and you didn't do enough playtesting. Having alternate win conditions can help you avoid that. Also, minimizing the downtime between your games. So kind of like how I said with the rules, when it comes to... Thank you. Okay, so when it comes to minimizing the downtime between gameplay, it's important to make sure that you're not spending too long on each turn. Each decision shouldn't take you like 10 minutes. Now, Catan example, guys, get ready. You guys know when you first start a game of Catan, you have to really think about where you're going to place the road. That should be your longest action in the entire game. After that, it should be pretty cut and dry. Maybe you're trading with people back and forth, but if your whole turn, like every turn looked like that, dude, nobody would play Catan. It would take forever. So make sure you make it easy to play and that you have a lot to do. Also, one of the things that's really important is making sure that your game isn't completely luck-based and not completely skill-based. Certain like trading card games, for example, and things that have that like you need to buy a bunch of cards to really get into it. Sure, it's important to have skill-based stuff so that they can have tournaments and have a competitive aspect. But you don't want to have a game that's super gate-kept. How many times have you gone to sit down at like or like maybe you played a board game and your friends are so good at it, it's not even worth playing. Like that's how I am with Smash Bros. So it's like I'm good, but I can't leave like the locals, you know? So I don't know. You got to make sure that your games are able to be played by anybody, even if it's a challenge. And you also don't want to make it so easy that it's just whoever flips the right coin or gets the right like roll. But yeah, and then finally, one of the most important things you want to consider is actually making your game feel like your decisions have impact. If your players are like doing their actions for the turn and they don't feel like anything's happening because of what they did, it's not going to feel engaging. You're not going to feel good at the game. Having a point where like people are really into the game comes from a sense of satisfaction that you're good at it, right? Who would play a game if they felt bad or they felt terrible at it? I don't. I'm a whiny baby, bro. I'm not going to play a game I suck at. I'm going to be honest. That's why I don't play like Valorant or the shooters, because I suck at it. It's the same stuff here. Sid Meier also said, a game is a series of interesting decisions. This is going to be more true. If you're not making interesting decisions, it's not a game, bro. You're just like following steps. That's a tutorial at that point. That's not any fun. Okay, with that all in mind, that's all we have for our presentation. So, I'm Rick Jenkins, president of the Game Developers Club, and I wanted to thank you so much for taking the time to listen and giving me the time to speak, to talk about game design for tabletop games. As somebody who's not a tabletop game developer, if you guys want to join our Discord, we meet every Friday from 1 to 5 p.m. I know it's a long time, in Engineering 005. But, like I said, I'm not a professional. So, we're going to go ahead and get started with Eliot in just a moment. So clap it up. Feel free to get a piece of pizza. We're going to do a brief intermission.
Good job.
Thank you. My voice is about to explode.
So, can we get that bigger for people? Can you? How well can you see in the back? It's on screen. Can I give me like a thumbs up if it's okay? Half, thumbs down maybe. There we go. All right, that looks good. So we're gonna run through a demo now.
Hang on. Better idea.
Test.
Full brain on display.
Is this not actually? This is the camera. But it's kind of onto.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna play here. What you see on stage, you're also probably welcome to come on up if you want to like watch standing or whatever. But we're gonna get started.
Oh, this is great. People are gonna see how dumb I am in real time.
Hell yeah.
All right. So the game I'm going to be talking about tonight and playing right now is a real-time combat card game.
Oh, fire.
So real-time means there are no turns. And once the combat starts, the game could be over in seconds, or if you're newer, maybe not seconds. But there is also a social deduction aspect. Is this upside down, or is this, I'll have to do it like this. Okay. So the 4 basic roles that we're going to be playing with is a lot like Mafia, where you're going to have a hidden role everybody's going to have. So we have the king, the assassin, the fool, the king's hand. Now these are like the base starter 4. I always teach this with these 4. We're going to add one more. Let's do maniac. All right, so before I teach the combat, just a quick overview of the roles. Normally, I wouldn't even actually go over the roles. I would first introduce combat because that's very different for a lot of people. But I think everybody in here is fairly experienced with either gaming or tabletop. So we're just going to go, I'm just going to throw all the data at you all at once. So we have the king. The king is the easiest role. If you get the king, you're feeling pretty happy. All he has to do, stay alive. You don't have to do anything. There's no other necessities. That's it. If you notice, there's a little royalty symbol here. We'll get into that. Then we have the fool. King must be dead. Must stay alive. You do not need to kill the king. King just must be dead. Maniac. Must kill a commoner. Commoners is anyone that does not have the royalty. Then finally we have assassin. Must kill someone. And the king's hand. The king must stay alive. These are going to get randomized between all the players, and then everybody's going to get a roll, and we're not going to know who is who until the game is over. So even if you manage to murder everyone, you can still lose. So normally, it's not recommended to kind of go ham, and resources will be limited, as I'll go over. So it's not really something you can really do anyway. One question in the back. Yes, these are assailant symbols, not relevant for us, but it basically means that this is a person who needs a kill to win. There's a card that needs to kill killers, but that's not in this arrangement. Good eye. All right, so these are going to go, and before I pass them out, we're going to go over the combat really quick. Now, we have a weapon deck for each player. Unfortunately, the artist was not able to join us tonight, but I did not do the art. That is by a very talented Graham Seabear. Like C as in the letter C, bear. You can find them on, I believe, Instagram, X maybe. We're going to pull out one more deck here since we've got 5. So when I published this game, I did like a Pokemon Red and Blue. So you could purchase one deck, which can play up to 4 players, or purchase either deck can play from 3 to 4. Purchase both to play up to 8. Each comes with unique roles and unique weapon decks, as you can see here. But the weapon decks are just cosmetic. There's not a functional difference. Now I'm going to pull one more deck from the blue one. And for the record, for the Kickstarter, we only sold like together. There was no option during the Kickstarter because when you mass produce, you just want like one simple option. It would have cost way too much money to like complicate that in any way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Always want to make sure you have all your pieces. So, combat is pretty straightforward. You're going to have 3 cards in your hand. They're going to have a number, minus some special cards I'll get into in a second. You're going to have a number on them. This is same number on both sides, so actually it's legible whether you're looking at it upside down or not. You're going to put an attack card in front of someone. So let's say each of our players here are one of these decks. It's going to be face down. But let's say everybody has a deck, and then I attack, what's your name?
Casey.
Casey. Let's say I attack Casey for 2. It's as simple as if Casey has in hand a card greater than 2, or equal to or greater than 2, he puts it face down, clears it, draws back up to 3 cards. It's going to be making a little bit more sense once you play the game out, but it's basically just you take your value card, whatever it is, put in, like, say, I want to kill green here. Boom, put in front of green. If green can't play it, can't beat 2, and by the way, the numbers are 1 through 10. If you can't beat 2, you're dead. That's it. Game's over for you instantly. And as soon as somebody dies, the rest of the players will vote to end the game. So in other words, if you recall, there was the king must stay alive. So let's say the fool kills the king, right? Then the fool says, I want the game to end right now. Votes end the game. All the other players say, sure, whatever. I think I'm going to win. The game will end in a minute. And so when you have really professional players, that's what happens often. Sometimes. The more players there are, it gets a little more complicated. So that is the game. The acronym is BDC, beat, draw, clear. Okay? If you forget to draw and somebody attacks you, you have less than the 3 cards in your hand. This is an important aspect because the game plays out in real time. So let's go back to that example where I attack and Casey has in hand, let's say 9, 7, and 1. I attack with 1, beats it, Casey forgets to draw. I attack with 4, beats it with the 7, forgets to draw again. Then I attack with, let's say, actually 9 was a terrible example. Let's say I attack with 6, and then I attack with 5. The game doesn't end just because you run out of cards. But if I attack and there's nothing for you to block with, you die, just like that. But somebody else can then come in and beat it for you. So there is teamwork. Basically, any attack, once it's in play, is interactable by any other player until it's beaten, and then it just gets cleared.
Question.
Yes?
How do you remain anonymous if you're attacking other players?
So that's a really good question. Good question. Oh, what's your name?
Judith.
Judith, right. Judith asked, how do you remain anonymous if you're constantly attacking? This is a great question because, for example, as the king, you don't need to attack anyone, right? So you're sitting pretty. But if you're sitting pretty, it's really obvious you're the king. The fool will go after you. So if you're the king, you might want to like tickle a neighbor. Something little, something small. You know, not to make any enemies, but like also not make it look like you're bored. But also, if you're the assassin, you don't really have a lot of enemies. But you can make some friends. Say, hey, I won't attack you. Right? And then I need to attack this person because I'm convinced this person is someone easy to kill or whatever. Or if you're the fool, for example, same deal. Or you can work together with the assassin and say, hey, assassin, I think so-and-so is the king. Kill them, and I will defend you. So that's how the roles are going to interact with the combat. Finally, one last thing before we get to play. We have a bomb, which beats any, like if, let's say everybody attacks me at the same time, I play one bomb, and that'll beat all attacks on me. Bomb is just a beat everything in front of one player when you play it. Now, we have the divide. That just divides the value by half. Redirect. Well, how's that looking? Okay, good. Redirect will take any attack, and then it's now yours to attack someone else. You can even attack yourself with it. I'll leave it up to your imagination why you'd want to attack yourself, but that is a legal move. And then finally, of course, double. So let's say I attack Casey, even though this is just in the previous example, these I think were Casey's cards, but let's just say I attack Casey with 10, and then I double it, now it's 20. Someone else doubles it to 40. Someone else doubles it to 80. Doubles it to 80. Someone else. What is 80 times 2? Oh no, it's a redirect. Then you take the entire 80 instead, and you can redirect it to any other player. Getting it? All right, let's play.
Wait, I have one more question.
Yes.
So once you're dead, you're completely out. There's no comebacks. There's no.
Done. Gone. Okay. Once you're dead,
What happens to your cards? Do they just they're completely gone, or can other people take them?
they're completely gone.
I also have a question.
Yeah.
As soon as you play a card, are you allowed to redraw?
Yes. Yes. So you can like attack, draw, as long as there's no attack in front of you. Once an attack is in front of you, you must deal with the attack in front of you. So you can lock down a player by keeping attacking them. So there is a dexterity component to this. Is that a little ableist? Maybe, but during the development of Dethroned 2, which by the way was something we were working on and then COVID kind of killed it and it's a whole story. But we were actually working on something where even if like, let's say you're at a big table or like you're just not quick enough, we came up with a mechanic where you say what you're going to do and that counts as like the first action. So let's say, you said your name was Judith. Let's say I say this without any verbalization. Maybe at house rules that's fine. But in the official rules that we had worked on for the sequel game, we said attacking, you have to say attacking Judith for 20. Can you see that from here? Yeah. So, yeah.
Can 2 people be attacking at the same time? Like 2 different people?
It's real-time combat. Anybody can attack anyone and do anything as long as it's legal.
So this really can just
Yes.
explode in like seconds.
Exactly.
This is fun.
I have to play through a camera. I'm going to hit this.
Good luck, soldier.
Cope.
Maybe don't hit it.
You can scoot around a little bit. Let's scoot around this way.
Let's
I'll
rotate.
just say that the board
Yeah,
game
rotate,
plays for it.
rotate.
You were scammed out of a good.
All right, so everybody take your deck, shuffle it up, and draw 3 cards. Looks like you claimed
Oh,
purple.
wait, no, this
There
is,
you go.
These are 2 different colors.
Oh, I like.
This is an orange one.
You should have 14.
Yeah, but this
take
one's
the
a different
green
color.
ones.
Here, orange or blue.
I'll take blue.
There you go. All right, so shuffle it up. And draw 3.
Supposed to have 14?
14.
1, 2,
13. I'm
3,
missing one.
4, 5,
There it is.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay.
And then you take the top 3.
Yep. All right, now we're going to divvy out the roles. One more time, reminder what the roles are. King, you're good. Maniac, kill a commoner. Commoners are assassin and the fool. So Maniac wants to sniff out who these 2 are. These 2 want to kill the king. Assassin, you just kill anyone. You're free to kill anyone. And King's Hand, you want the king to stay alive for you to win. You must also stay alive. Arguably, depending on the set, really difficult role. Luckily, Maniac doesn't want to kill you. Maniac can kill you. You just got to kill someone else. All right, shuffle these up, shuffle these up. This is my shuffling. Don't judge me, thank you.
I don't even play card games.
That's even worse.
No, this is glorious. This is the real professional way to do it.
Yeah, okay.
He made a card
Oh,
game.
actually, where do cards go after we're like done? Like
Center. We want a large, colorful pile in the center.
So once you burn the card,
So
okay.
a thing that happens in Dethroned is with all the chaos, you're gonna once you like attack is cleared or beaten, you clear it to the center. At the very end, you get a colorful pile at the end. This actually helped a lot with the kind of soft advertising because at the very end, you just get this weird rainbow pile, and people will be like, "Ooh, what's that?" Because it's like it's not just like someone abandoned a game or didn't clean up their game. They're playing this weird, colorful pile right now.
Sorry, I just have one more question. What does the reverse card thing do again?
That's the redirect.
Redirect? Oh.
Yes.
Got it.
Everybody look at your roll. Do not tell anyone else what it is. Now, the final step is we're all going to go around and say what our roll is. I recommend you lie. Especially if you are the king and the fool. I'll go first. I'm the fool.
I'm the king.
I'm the king.
I'm the king's sword.
I'm the king.
Great. Great. Okay. So now we just, does anybody want to talk about it? Does anybody want to maybe forge an alliance? All right, so we vote to begin combat. Thank you very much. We'll just say okay, combat's beginning. So there's that looks like. Are these 3 separate attacks on me? Yeah. Great.
Is that me?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Wait. Is this clearing?
I don't know if it's clear.
Hold on. That looks a 9 beat a 5.
All of those.
Hold on.
You can only complete. Okay, I'm getting saved. That's a bomb on me. Let's just do that. Okay. Okay.
I don't know what's going on anymore.
Okay.
Can I just keep pulling
So a
out cards?
redirect means you're attacking someone else. So this looks like someone used the redirect.
He redirected on me and I put a 10.
Okay.
Wait, so am I supposed to pull lower or higher cards in the
Equal to or greater than. To beat.
To beat, I have to pick higher?
Yeah.
So he gives me 4, I have to pick 4 and above.
4 or above,
Okay,
yeah.
so can I just keep pulling my
No.
cards? No.
If you can't, you can ask for help. There you go. I'll redirect it where?
Yeah, redirect me back to you.
Who wants me on their side? Huh?
I do.
I cleared you, my guy.
I like you, okay.
Oh.
Who do you not like?
Hold on. That's 14.
Oh, and I'm directing
On him?
my 14.
So that's 4. So these are 2 separate attacks on Josh. So these are 2 separate attacks on Josh. A 14 on Josh and a 4. Okay, so 6 beat the 4. There you go. Josh is caught up completely. Okay.
8.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Whoa.
Who's got the most cards? Who's got the most cards?
I got
What's your name?
one.
Jalen.
Jalen looks like the most cards. I'm gonna attack him with the 1. Jalen beats it with the bomb. I just burned Jason's
Dude, I
Jalen's bomb.
could have called for my aid.
Are you dead? Sorry.
You want to aid me?
Sure.
I got one card.
Who's your biggest enemy right now?
Biggest enemy? These two.
Redirecting the 6 back at.
Oh, sweetie, no. Wait,
All right,
so I have to pick my number?
You have to. So you have
Wait, so
to.
what's
You
the
have to
9
do 6. That's still
the
on
9
him.
mean?
So
I can
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 I combine
14
numbers?
on me?
You can't attack while you
Can I
can't
com-
attack him
Oh,
while
okay,
your
got
your
Can I
attack is on
combine
him.
numbers?
No.
What's your 1 card?
No adding.
No adding?
What?
What's your 1 card?
I got a card.
Here, let's put these a little bit more into the camera.
It's a card.
Can you beat 4.5?
No.
I can't help. I can't. Okay. I'm having the 9 down to 4.5, beating it with the 7.
Thank
Cleared.
you.
Can you beat a 4? 14.
Jesus.
Why do y'all hate me so much?
Okay, so 14 and a 4 on Josh. Josh helped me. I'm helping him back and clearing all the attacks on Josh. A 4 on Josh, and a 6 on. Are you beating that, or or is it a separate attack?
Separate attack.
Separate attack. Why? Why do you hate Josh so much?
Just for you.
Whoa! 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 Okay. Beat the 8 with the 9.
Oh, shit.
Beat the 2 with the 2.
Wait, who's our biggest enemy?
Unless someone clears
Who's our
this,
biggest
I'm
enemy?
dead. I have no cards.
Well, I'm the fool, so I don't care if you live or die. I was just honestly, but look. I helped you. You helped me. I helped you. I think we're even.
Yeah, we are even.
Now you're
One of you is alive and one of you is
We
not.
are even now.
Yeah, we're
I'm
even now.
definitely dead.
Are you
You're
dead?
definitely-
You're dead?
Yeah,
So,
I'm
well,
dead.
hold
I
on.
have
Who attacked?
0 cards.
Who attacked you first? Which one came here
I
first?
believe I placed the 6 first.
The 4 came first.
Oh, no.
The 4 came first. Are you the 4?
I'm the 4.
You're the 4.
Yeah.
Count him down. 3, 2, 1, 0.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Nobody helped him. All right. Don't reveal your role,
Yep.
but you are dead. Now, remaining living players. Raise your hand if you have your win condition met and you want the game to end. I don't want the game to end. I'm not convinced the king is dead. And as you remember, I'm the fool. So we must continue the game, and a vote to end only goes when another player dies.
Oh, is it unanimous?
It must be unanimous.
Oh, okay.
Unless 2 players die, or
No,
always neither.
every time someone dies,
You get to vote.
yes, exactly.
Hey, so guys, question.
No, you don't. No, you
We all
don't.
voted yes, right?
Except for me.
So if we kill him,
Don't kill. 5 on you. 10 on you. 4 on you.
10.
All right.
9. Screw you.
Wow, cleared with a 9.
Oh,
That's something.
Oh,
shouldn't have used
okay.
that, but it's okay.
Beating an 8 with an 8. Beating the 3 with a 3.
Wait, dude, attack him.
4.
Oh!
Actually, I have that one.
Oh! That's not gonna help. But
Yeah, I doubled it.
No, I have it.
I'm going to beat the 7 with a 12. So whose 4 is this?
Mine.
Count me down.
3, 2, 1.
I'm dead.
Okay.
Which
Y'all
typical.
Y'all want to move on? Let's go.
Both end the game. Game's over. That's it. Reveal your roles.
I was the king's
Maniac.
You killed.
Assassin. Are you a commoner?
You are not a good king's hand. You are quite a bad king's hand.
So
All
I
right.
killed you.
Wait,
You
who's the
killed
king?
me.
So I get my win condition.
Yeah, you get your win condition.
All right.
Kill a commoner?
You.
What was his name?
The
Jalen?
king's hand.
And,
I killed the king.
You're
So.
not a good
What's your name?
king's hand.
Casey.
Hey, I
Jalen.
wanted a revolution.
All right. So Jalen and Casey win because the maniac killed me. I'm a commoner. Casey killed the king. Counts. So we have our 2 winners. And let me see your roll. And your name was... So Judith killed her king! Woo!
Finally, the revolution has been won! Woo! This is actually so
That's a little uncanon, though. There's a whole backstory. At the end, I'm going to share a QR code where you can sign up. We're actually going to be shipping more copies.
I would love to. This is actually so
Thank
fun.
you.
I love
Thank
it.
you.
Can we do another one?
We have to move on. Yeah. So that's the game. I'm going to go over now. I'm going to introduce myself now. I'm going to go over what kind of the process was. I was given a list of kind of like common misconceptions. We're going to kind of debunk a lot of stuff. And then at the very end, we're going to open up for Q&A, and then and if you want to know any business decisions, like how much did it cost to ship from China, how many copies did you ship, what was the production shipping like, all those kind of business stuff, we're going to open up my Google Drive from 8 years ago, and we can just go through whatever you want to know. And we're going to do all of that in 25 minutes. All right.
This is actually
We can go a
Thank
little
you.
longer.
I'm sure, yeah.
I'm going to have to leave soon. Is it possible I could get the QR code? I
Yes.
just have to leave in like
Bookings in it after this, so.
Yeah,
I
I'm
just
sure.
have to go because I have a thing at home. This is actually so fun because I love Mafia.
Yeah, but also, even if they do,
You want mailing list or Discord?
Huh? What?
Mailing list or Discord?
Discord.
Let's talk about some of the creation side first. So it was emphasized, really good. Can we get another round of applause, please, for the slides and Rick's just. That was a really, really good cover of the kind of the macro level and a little bit of the micro level, and it cannot be de-emphasized. So games, 99% of them are art, right? And if you want your game to be a certain way, you're free to do that. You're free to make whatever you want. But like, if you genuinely want your target audience to be able to consume your art, then you're gonna have to put it in front of them early on and to keep getting it in front of them. And A little anecdote about that. Eventually, you're gonna have to start like doing like little raffles and stuff. So, if you are a campus student, that's really easy to just constantly, get people to play test and reiterate, especially if you're stopping by the Game Developers Club on Fridays. That's right. From 1. There you go. Or the Tabletop.
Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7 to 10.
Exactly. And I actually ran both at one point at the same time. And so I was really actively like getting a lot of playtesting in. I admit I did have some luck and privilege there. So if I can get this off. There we go. How's the audio, by the way? Is that okay? So a little bit about myself then. I was a student from 2011 to 2016. I ran the Game Developers Club for 2 years and then was like a lower officer before that. And then I ran the Tabletop Club, I believe, 2016, and then was an officer prior to that. I was doing a lot of game development, just like anything to get my foot into the door. I was doing educational video games for a startup in DC. Anything like, if you take a look at the posters on the wall at the Game Developers Club room, you'll see my name on 3 different projects during the 2016 year, because that's what it takes. And early on, I had decided that like, okay, I want to shine and get noticed above everybody else. So what kind of games are the most difficult things? Obviously, online multiplayer 3D games. So that, and I committed to that. It became like a running joke or something. And like I was at Global Game Jam, hackathons, whatever. I was always pitching an online multiplayer game. Most of the time it worked out. There's like one time where like we got to the end to like show what we did, and it was just like, well, you take risks, right? But yeah. So after that, I actually did a whole bunch of subcontract stuff with a lot of small indies. As you know, I had pitched and ran Dethroned, did a Kickstarter. The goal was just $8,000. We beat that. Sold internationally around the world. And then there was, so the game industry is really difficult. And after a time, I decided to kind of quit and just get a more typical engineering job. I did that for several years. And then actually quit my job a year and a half ago to full-time just launch a whole bunch of personal projects and also work on some projects with a friend that I can't much talk about. But one of the things I did was it's still like in alpha, and hopefully I'll get to it soon, but a no-code card game engine. So you can make your own like collectible card game that's like an engine inside Unity. You can, maybe share like my itch.io or something if you want to check out like a demo of like a game that was made in that. But otherwise, my whole shtick is really just about like ethical games and games that bring people together and accessibility. And Dethroned is a product of actually, in spite of what I just said, there was actually some spite motivated for Dethroned the card game. Raise your hand if you've heard of Mafia. I bet. Raise your hand if you love Mafia to death. Raise your hand if you're kind of, I've played it a lot, it's the same thing every time. That was me. I had a friend who loved Mafia. And I was like, man, this is like the 100th time I played Mafia this week. I'm going to blow my brains out if I have to do this one more time. So I was like, how can we fix this? How can we make it more fun? And that's how Dethroned happened. The answer was give everyone a gun. And the original name for Dethroned was actually Shots. And then it was Wizard Battles. and then it was something else, and then Dethroned eventually. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I guess I'll go now a little bit more into, try to see if I can cover this in just 5 minutes. Go into kind of more the development side. So Dethroned, I believe I started in like roughly 2014, and I was constantly buying solitaire cards from Target and then writing on them. And that was the original iteration of Dethroned. I still have those like cards somewhere because you know, that holds a lot of value to you as a game developer. And I was just constantly like getting people like, hey, you want to play test this new game? Hey, you want to play test? Hey, come on, please, let's play test. You played it last week, I know, but like I've changed things now. It's better. A lot of that, and like, you know, at one point I was starting to get really it was like it's hard to not take it personally. Now this is something a real important lesson to learn is when people say no, thank you, even if it's friends, even if it's family, don't take it personally. They played your game maybe already 10 times, okay? So I actually ended up, luckily from that educational game gig I had mentioned earlier, had a little bit of money. So I started buying Amazon gift cards. And then every time you came to play, you got a +1 on a D20 roll. And if you rolled a 20, you got a gift card. And luckily, I didn't run out of gift cards, but that could be a risk. Low risk. I'm sure all of you know, like, you know, odds of like getting 1 out of 20, but and then we did the same thing for Dethroned too, and that helped a lot. There's no shame in that, but like honestly, you're gonna go to all the events that was mentioned earlier, like Artscape, Gamescape, Magfest, just showing up to the various clubs, all these things. Eventually, these things are going to cost money. Now, let me see what's next on my list here. Speaking of money, video versus tabletop funding. So, tabletop's very different. And I think we'll have to put up a link to something called Stonemaier Games. Does anybody know what that is? Does anybody know who they are? Have you ever played tabletop people? There's a really known game that's like has a bird on it. It's like name is like Wing or something. Wingspan is Stonemaier. Yeah, so they have a whole blog about how to publish your own card game. And I was like listening to blogs back in like 2015. I was like all the podcasts, all the information is out there. But like if it's a video game, what do? You create a Discord. You maybe have like a WebGL export so people don't even have to download your game. You start pitching on like Reddit and Twitter and your friends. All this stuff, right? Tabletop's very different. Eventually, if you want to publish, you're going to have to find someone who can print thousands of copies. And for Dethroned, I actually lost money. But that's mostly by design, right? It was the first Kickstarter. The point was just so that it's successful. Once you have something that shows like success, your future projects, they kind of, you know, they help each other. People see that you can do something and do it successfully. So this concept of, oh, I have this great idea and it's going to make me so much money one day. If that's your focus and this is your first project, the bad news is that's the entirely wrong idea. Publish it. No matter how, your priority will be to publish it. Even if that means itch.io. And if it's itch.io, make sure it's like really nicely dressed, your itch page. It's free, but don't like lean on that kind of thing. Okay? So yeah, all of the guys are there. I'm not, again, we don't have too much time, so I can't get into like all the crazy details. And I want to leave some time for questions. So that's kind of like the overarching just publish it. Make something, have it go from start to end, whether it's a board game or a card game, and have like the manual if it's a tabletop game, right? Have that physically done and then move on to the next thing. And I promise you, if you keep doing that, and like, but my first game was my baby, you can come back to that game 5 years, 10 years later, like a superhero, and you'll be like, this game was terrible. I can't believe I called it my baby. It's my worst child. And you're going to improve it, and you're going to make it better. So, what's next? One thing I do want to talk about real quick is direct-to-customer shipping. This was actually something that like kind of started back when I was working on Dethroned in 2014, which was the ability where these game printers would have contacts where you just tell them, here's my money, here's exactly what I need printed after they've shipped you some sample copies, which are not cheap. The sample copies are going to be like a couple $100 for like a single game. Once you got all that done, you just hand them the addresses that you get from your Kickstarter campaign, if it was successful. I don't know why I did that now that the mic's over here when I did that. And they will work with the shipping partners, either directly or you work in tandem with them. Side note, if you work with China, China has Chinese New Year's. They're not going to be available during that time, so know when Chinese New Year's is. All right, tabletop versus video games. Is it easier or harder? Different problems. I remember I was interviewed about the Dethroned, and they asked a similar question, and I said, well, video games have bugs and tabletop don't. They didn't include that in the final publishing of that interview. While that's true, the bugs can be actually much worse on tabletop because you're already not going to be there. Video game or tabletop when someone picks up your game, right? And then they have to either get onboarded through your video game or onboarded through your game manual. And you're going to have the help of whoever spent money on the board game. They're going to want you to learn it because they spent money on it. But if they're having trouble teaching to their friends, that's a bad look. So that's honestly like, you can watch people play and really, yeah, it's, if anyone wants to say like one's harder or easier than the other, they really honestly, they have their challenges. They each have their own challenges. Video games, I think, used to be more difficult, you could say, but now we have Game Maker, Unity, Unreal Engine. Someone in here is using RenP, or someone at the Game Developers Club was. So there's all these options now. So honestly, like, yeah, it's really, they're different. And just, if that's like a question you're asking about, don't worry about it too much. Now that does remind me, Rick had said earlier that digital is more difficult. Or no, sorry, that digital, if you're making a physical card game, you want to put it digital. You want to put it on tabletop. What's it called? Tabletop Simulator. Tabletop Simulator has its own problems. Now there was something Rick had mentioned called Dexterous, which apparently has an easy export Tabletop Simulator. That's awesome. But when COVID hit and we were working on Dethroned 2, we had to export to Tabletop Simulator, or we had to pivot so that we could do digital and do Tabletop Simulator. Now, we had to like learn how to like do like some of the tabletop. That was quite a learning curve, and I had to learn Lua for that. That was interesting. Yeah. So but now here's the problem. Now you all saw Dethroned. Here's the thing about Dethroned. You saw how quick that was. Imagine trying in Tabletop Simulator to like quickly like click a card, pick it up with the mouse, drag it over to where the other player is on the Tabletop simulation, and all that stuff. It quickly lost the magic. And like all the effort we put into making a tabletop Dethroned, like in order to kind of reclaim that dexterity in some meaningful way, it would require like, we would have to make our own game engine at that point. So there are edge cases as to why that's not always viable. It's good advice, but don't sweat on it. And that was the majority of my list. We have 7 minutes till 8, but we can stay longer. I mean, I can stay longer. It's just until some UMBC staffer schmo comes in and be like, y'all can't be here. But I don't think that didn't happen in my time. I don't know if that'll happen now. But one last thing to note are tools. For Dethroned 1, it was all manual. Like opening up Photoshop or, in my case, Paint.net. And, yeah. And now I'm a big boy and I use Affinity. And then like making each of those prints, bringing it onto a sheet, cutting them out, not fun. And the artist actually had to do a lot of that. So my heart goes out to him. Sorry, that maybe sounded like he died. He's still alive. But but really that project might have killed him if he had to do all that all over again. But now we have stuff like Dexterous. I use Component Studios. It actually has an export out to a popular, I think it's called the Game Crafter. It's a popular American West Coast, I believe, publisher for testing and everything. It's a great resource. I highly recommend the Game Crafter. They have also tons of resources for indies and how to publish and all that. And then there's another one called, I think it's called Den. I'll look it up in a sec. But there is one where like it's basically like a programming language, and all you have to do is kind of program like here, here is the top left corner goes to number 1, and then like card number 2, just +1 that number. Card number 3, +1 that number again, and then you can have a lot of edge cases for like if it's card number 50, change the background art, because if it's like solitaire, they have different background depending on which suit it is. A lot of easy stuff like that. And you can just, do like a search. But I use Component Studio. The other one's called Nandeck. And then there's another called Squib. All of these tools make your cards very easy. But if your game is a lot more about like pieces, forget everything I just said the last 5 minutes. Yeah, that's it. It is currently 7:56-ish. Have we just like had like the parallaxing this whole time? That's great. That's great. All right. Q&A time.
I think we're good. So before we get into questions, everybody clap it up for Eliot.
Thank you.
Also, something we didn't really mention, but like Eliot had actually responded on pretty short notice, all things considered, for the event. So having him come out was also just a great experience. I'm sure that demo was very, it was very engaging, at least for me to watch. And so Eliot also gave the club an updated copy of the game in exchange for one of his old alpha ones.
Tabletop should have a copy of this game somewhere if it hasn't been lost. Nice. You might have the red copy and the blue copy if you're thinking 2 copies. There you go. There you have it.
But yeah, go ahead and ask any questions. I'm gonna start.
Anything.
I'm gonna start cleaning up, but feel free, take the time that you need. We should be good, y'all. I only say it as a precaution and in respect to y'all's time. So, go ahead and ask away.
And if we want, can we change this to so if I want to pull up any data on my computer, we can do that.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, you're doing that.
Sure.
Okay, so real quick before that, I'm just going to talk about next week's event real quick. So next week, we are going to be meeting in ILSB 116A, same time, and we are going to be making prototypes. So just think about any ideas that you want for your game before then. And so in 2 weeks, on the, what's that date? My brain. On the 7th, we are going to be going same place, ILSB 116A. We will be actually going and doing playtesting. And awesome thing at the end of this event, if you want and you really enjoy your game and think that it's really good, you can submit your game to be judged. We are going to have a panel of judges made up of the boards of the Game Dev Club and the Tabletop Gaming Club. And if we think that your game has a lot of promise and a lot of potential, we will be putting it forward to get professionally designed and printed by Common Vision on the budget of our clubs. So this won't be like a final copy, like your game's done, yeah, this is the final printing. It will be a prototype that is just professionally designed and printed. I work at Common Vision. I know the people who do design work there. They are all extremely talented, extremely awesome people. So you will end up getting just a really cool thing to take home with you. One game will be sent forward by the panel of judges, and then another game that is deemed like the fan favorite, basically, of just like that the community decides, will also be sent forward. So 2 games will be sent forward to be professionally designed and printed. So that is one of the awesome perks of this event.
And before we go into the Q&A, I just quickly wanted to say, this has been in progress for a long time. So I just wanted yeah, 2 years is pretty crazy. But it means so much to me, and I'm sure as it does to Josh and the folks at the Tabletop Club, that you guys came out here together. I know today it's very presentation forward, and the next events are going to be a little bit more interactive. And so I want to invite you, if you are able to come to the next meeting, I would love it if you go ahead and mingle a little bit with the opposite club. Obviously, we stick to our own people, but our main goal was to give you guys an opportunity to sit with the people next to you, get a chance to talk, maybe float some ideas around. And something that's so wonderful about the 2 clubs coming together on this is we got our game designers and we got people who love to play games. So the thing is like, you couldn't make a better environment for learning and creating. So even if you're like hesitant, maybe I won't come to the prototyping event, like maybe I don't have an idea, you better come, all right? And so over the past 2 weeks, this event has taken a lot to put on, but it makes me so satisfied to be sitting here still talking to you, even the people who are, it's 8 now. Y'all are still here. Y'all could have left early, and y'all are still here, so clap it up for yourselves.
If any of you guys have been to our mini painting nights, next week is going to be a lot like that, where we are going to be having just so many resources and stuff for you to just be as creative as you want. Like literally $290 worth of resources went into like getting all these things for you guys. So I really hope you come out and really enjoy next week. And then even 2 weeks from now, it's going to be awesome seeing what you all made, seeing what you all developed, and just really play testing, getting into it.
100%.
I have a question, but like how like simple are the games supposed to be? Because it sounds like you will be like making them with just one of these.
Yeah, so something you may want to think about that is, if anything, that should be a guideline for yourself.
Yeah.
So you have the next week to fully think about this project to prototype. That's, Josh was saying earlier, we're giving you guys homework. That's true, to be honest. In order to come to the next meeting, we kind of expect y'all to have an idea brewing. The idea is, here we're teaching y'all how to get into the game development, how to start it, and now that you have the tools to do so, you can go out and start coming up with these concepts. So.
Well, and what if you're like entirely new to game design?
Well, if you're entirely new to game design,
Alone.
yeah, you don't have to do it alone. And something we say in the Game Developers Club all the time is there's no EXP required. So our whole thing is about learning, right? So Caleb's cringing at the fact that I just used a video game analogy, but we're really all about learning. Yeah, we're all about learning. That's the whole thing. So we want you to learn.
Yeah, if you don't have an idea of your own, you can team up with other people. You can say, hey, I kind of have half an idea, you have an idea, let's try to bring them together. And you can just work together on stuff. And it's a really fun, really awesome process. And I just really hope you guys have fun with it. Now, like I said, the third event, like it's a very quick turnaround time. This is not supposed to be your big final magnum opus game. This is supposed to be just something fun to show you what it's like to be able to do this process of like making a game, having a concept, making prototypes, playtesting, stuff like that. It's not going to be, here's my final product, I'm going to start shipping it out, getting it professionally printed, stuff like that. It's, here's my idea, here's what I want to do, let's just work with it.
Yeah. And with that said, I think we're eating up enough of the time that you guys waited to ask questions. So I hope you have a couple. So we're going to go ahead and have Eliot come back up here for questions. All right, take it away.
Thank you, Josh, and thank you, Rick. Real quick, in case anybody wants to leave now, or they have somewhere else to be, whatever, if we could pull up, we have 2 QR codes. One is to the mailing list for Dethroned, and one is to the Discord. If you're old like me, that's what it's for.
You may need to elaborate, or like if you're interested in getting on, like getting the game or updates about the development.
Yeah, same thing. It's the Dethroned mailing list. Updates, but via email. You too, man. You too. Yeah, I'm really happy to see where Tabletop has gone as like a club and everything. That's really cool. The minis painting, that's awesome. No one ever thought about that.
We are literally the biggest, the biggest social club on campus.
Really?
That's how big.
When I was here, it was back in Commons, the club.
We have over, like, on the Discord, we have like around 400 people actively coming to meetings every week. It's like 50 to 100.
Holy moly.
We're doing a bunch of events. We have the mini painting event this semester. We have
I'm sorry, let me Hey guys, here's the Discord QR code. If you haven't, has everybody gotten it that needs it? Hold on, one more time. Put it up one more time. Got 2. All right, and then, does anybody want the mailing list one? Hey, okay, we got one person. Cool. All right.
we got a mini painting event. We have a
Yeah.
month-long March Madness gaming tournament with like a ton of prizes and stuff. We have
Wow.
we have an event coming up called the Touch Grass event on Earth Day, where we're literally going to be giving out like themed stickers and stuff, and we're thinking of actually buying turf off of Amazon.
Nice.
And giving it out as prizes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're gonna be playing like nature themed games.
That's awesome, man. Congrats.
It's awesome. It's huge and it's great. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming out. This has been so awesome.
Thank you.
No, that's fair. Now I'm committed to the Obsidian document I had on my laptop for 7 months.
Did you get the Discord one? Yeah. I'll put up the link on there. Already there. All right. Does anybody have any questions? You first.
How long did you test before you got the hard
2 years. Yeah, just kept buying a lot of solitaire cards. 2 years. And side note, however long it takes you to make the game, it's at least equally as long for the manual. Yeah.
How many hours per week? Like, how many hours per day? How many hours per week were you putting in to make it?
Oh man. Per week, I was dedicating, I think, like 10 hours. 10 hours a week. Yeah. There was also I was really lucky. There was I was also going to other college campuses. There was like bars and cafes that had like a tabletop section that they were hosting indies nights and stuff. Yeah, there was tons of stuff pre-COVID. I don't know where they are now.
I was wondering how you did the advertising through Kickstarter.
Facebook advertising, I paid for a little bit. That didn't help that much. The thing that helped the most was just collecting emails. Of course, I guess now that's like having people join your Discord. But like 8 years ago, it was just collecting emails, having a tablet, asked people to type down their email on the tablet. But I did pay for a little bit of Facebook advertising back then, and I spent like $100, and I think I got like maybe 10 people of like organic reach from that. So take that as you will.
I know some indie card games will publish like a printable PDF
Yeah.
instead of like an actual thing. Did you consider that?
Yes, if you go to my itch.io, and if you follow my Discord, I'll post that as well. Although if you just look up, it might be on like. I'll make sure to share that as well. But it is available on the Discord. I believe we released it for free eventually, or maybe before. But like during the you know what? Part of the like advertising campaign included releasing the print and play for free. Yeah, and that's still up and available.
This isn't like about your game, but like in general, do you think like games are gonna just like start going towards like more of a like physical and virtual like release programs? Because like with like
Yeah.
I know that some of their games are like both physical and digital.
It was Wingspan wasn't
No,
at the same time,
not
but if you can, or if your publisher will pay for it, why not? Tabletop Simulator, you can purchase games through it. It has, I don't know if it's like a Steam marketplace you buy it, but like yeah, like that's a whole other marketplace. So releasing at the same time, that's madness. I've never heard of that. Maybe it's been done, but my respect to anyone who can like launch a physical copy and release a digital copy at the same time.
Did you mean like have a physical board game that has virtual components on it, or
Oh, like a hybrid game?
No, I'm also like meant that I noticed that like a lot of like games have started to lean more towards having like two different like versions and just like kind of like how D&D is, where you can still play this
Capitalism, baby.
play it online. And like considering that like the world is becoming a lot more virtual.
If you can't, again, if you can, why not? And also, it's easier than ever to make a game.
Oh, and like one, how much did it cost, and two, how many like failed versions or like scrapped content was there?
There wasn't much in terms of scrapped content. Is the stream still running? Do I need to hold this at all? Okay, cool. This game was really, nothing was scrapped, but during the development, there was like, that's not fun, kill it. There was a lot of that. Like this was like, I really, really wanted something that I could like get my family who's never touched a video game of any sort in their life to play it, right? So like this Dethroned is ultra, ultra, ultra slim. I cut anything that wasn't like, that's why it plays so fast. That's why you were able to teach it so quickly. I just wanted something that you can be boom, 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 done. Super simple. That's why it's only a 3-hand card size. That's why like you could physically recreate most of the components, which are solitaire cards. It is uber simple. Yeah.
How much did it cost?
Oh, yes. So a single copy we had made 2,000 copies. So that's, but one copy was a set of the blue and a set of the red. So it's 4,000 decks total. At that price, I reached out to a company that was new, and they were going to charge me. They needed business. So they needed business, and I needed something that was affordable, because the more affordable it was, the lower I could do with my Kickstarter, right? So I think per deck, or per game, it was about like $3.15 to publish or to print, and then the shipping actually costs anywhere from $5 to $15, and the game retails for $20. Now, if you're doing any kind of math, that means like, wait, Eliot, didn't you make some money off this? If you take the man hours of unpaid work everybody did and paid them off for it, you would be in the red for life. So, no.
I guess this is an important question for me, maybe, but was it fun to play test your games, go to these events, hand it to people, you know, get everything working like?
It was, so I'm going to do, this is the honest truth. Towards the end, it was much more of, this is a train, we can't stop, baby, and we got to keep going until it's out. It was a lot of hard work. It was fun at first, and like sometimes, and like playing with your friends is fun, and like we had fun just now, but like back then it was more like about the satisfaction and more just like a feeling of, how could you not? This is too much fun to like not publish it. We've gone so far, we've put in so much work, it's like almost a sunk cost fallacy. But like, it doesn't matter. At one point, like, what do you want? And if you're gonna bounce the minute something like stops being fun, or if you're worried about something not being fun, that's not life.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sometimes.
Okay.
At what point of playtesting to get to the point where you decide, okay, it's time to print and publish copies? Like,
Good
what was
question.
the moment to do that?
When to pivot from testing to committing to art? Depending on what it is. So if you're going to have to acknowledge that sometimes something's going to become glaringly bad. Like, for example, someone finds out a gimmick in your game that they that like breaks everything. And you and in order to change that, in order to make certain game mechanics, you're going to have to make changes to art. And you've committed already to an artist and you already have art, either you're going to have to learn to do that yourself or pay that artist again. I did it myself. For the, like I said, I got really good at paint.net, which is not a great program, just free. Sorry. But like when to decide that, it's more of a gut feeling and experience of like, okay, I don't think there's going to be huge revisions anymore. And then knowing it's going to take time to find the right artist and then work on their schedule. So it really is just it's an experience thing. Yeah. That's why I said, and that's why Rick was saying too, like iterate, but also make games, fail fast, keep making more failures, and keep learning. By the time I had Dethroned, I had already, like, I think 6 or 7 games that were like fully like you could, and video games, 6 or 7 video games that like you could start, play, win or lose, credits, repeat. Yeah.
Do you have a different design philosophy of how you design the games now that you've actually had one published?
Ooh, that's a really good question. What has publishing taught me about my workflow and design philosophy? Don't commit to something unless you're super, super serious about it. I've learned to know when like a project can go somewhere and when to commit on it, or like maybe just think about it a little bit. Like, how much are you personally willing to create? This project, I was like, when I kickstarted Dethroned, I was still in college. It was my senior year, bunch of 400 level classes. I had 2 other games I was doing, and I was doing the educational game like gig that we were getting paid for, and then personal life also is a thing. And this cost a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And honestly, I don't know if I would do that again. Like, not in that style. Like, I would like make the space in my life for that, and like sacrifice of other things if I knew that it was. So like, I guess the design philosophy was more the approach of, is this worth it, given that like learning to value myself, value my time, and like what this taught me, and do I carry that on, all those kinds of things. So you really have to factor in like that you are a human being with limited energy. Yeah.
What was your major? What year?
Computer science. Yeah. Shocker. Yeah.
Most of us in this room.
Also, quick question, like, you might not be able to answer this, but are there any, like, board game or tabletop spaces that also have advice for, like, tabletop role-playing games? Like, it seems like, compared to board games, they're even niche.
When browsing Reddit, I see people ask, like, I see a lot of like questions from like beginners in the space, and the responses they get are typically very good. So like just any kind of, but that's not tabletop. That's like typically Unity. The Game Crafter, that has a forum, and there's really good advice on there. Try to do some research on the Game Crafters forum before asking questions, and that's just general life thing. Like, people have like nobody owes you their time, so don't go and like just start asking questions. Do as much research as you can.
How did COVID impact, like the before and after of COVID? What has like changed in like the development, marketing of
unfortunately, lessons learned from COVID aren't tractable, or like they're not. It's like, oh yeah, I'm waiting for the next COVID to use those lessons I learned. Like, you know.
What's like things that's changed that like maybe like in 2018 or 19 you did before COVID, but like now they're like obsolete or like barely anyone does them anymore?
Well, as a personal anecdote, we were working on a Dethroned 2. For some reason, I can't remember why, but in my head, I was like, this is the direction I want to go, as opposed to like an expansion pack or an updated version, just update the art, that kind of thing, like a Dethroned 2024 type deal. But the COVID slowing everything down helped me realize that like we had, we actually fell into the common as day problem of scope. We had, I think, 10, 50 really good ideas. We had complicated spreadsheets of like, if this is the deck you choose, so you saw every deck is the same, function is the same, it's just what cards you draw. We had decks that had like different mechanics. If you chose, there was like a shield deck where you could save people more easily, all kinds of mechanics, and like we had spreadsheets of like, okay, if you choose the shield deck, then you're gonna percentage of drawing shield buff items is this much, which has to be the same. But since you're a buff, since you're like a buffing protecting class, and that means the attacking class must have the same percentage of attacking cards they draw if they choose the attacking deck, and all. We over-engineered. It was. It actually helped us like the. Yeah, it's really just a personal anecdote, but again, that difficulty that kind of like took the steam out of us. That was COVID. Just helped us learn that like we enjoyed the process more than the destination a little bit. We had a lot of fun making a lot of cool mechanics, but then when it came to actually making the manual, it was a nightmare to like specify all these different parts. That was effectively a completely different game. Yeah.
Oh, wait, and by manual you mean like rules, like
Yeah, like making the manual, manually making the manual.
with the cards, or like was it its own thing?
I'm sorry?
Did it come like with the cards? When it came with the cards, or is it its own thing? Does Dethroned one have a manual?
Yes, Dethroned 1 has a manual.
Oh, so like, is it like virtual or physical?
Physical. It's in the deck box.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a 20-page front, including front and back, manual that fits in the box itself, or in each of those. They each have their own manual, which is mostly the same, except for like a little bit of lore tidbits on the front and back, and then like different explanations of the roles, and that's it. Yeah.
I have a question that's not really for you, but what would you say are some of your like favorite board games, and what's like some of your favorite like obscure board games as well?
Oh. Ooh. Any tabletoppers still here? All right, cool. So one that comes to mind that I like, just because again it's easy to play with friends and family who aren't like massive freaking nerds, is I can't remember the name, but it's like Tetris but top down, 4 colors or more, and you just place on the grids. Blockus, yeah, I love Blockus. As in, sometimes like you just want to play a board game where you turn your brain off, look at pretty colors. Love Blockus. If I could get like a black glass Blockus, oof, that would be nice. Dominion, I love. As a programmer, I think just like, the idea of building something that then watch it work is awesome. It also helps that now there's like a mobile version, so like all that shuffling and other nonsense you don't have to have a problem with. Love Dominion. Yeah.
We gotta move some like hardware stuff out to different people, so
Sure.
we're gonna cut off pretty soon.
Cool. Yeah, just like 1 minute or now, or
Let's do one more question.
cool.
What are your thoughts on Root?
Root, the board game.
Yeah.
I haven't played it. I'm sorry. I know it's really good. One of the privileges of having been at UMBC was the Tabletop Club. After graduating, getting a job being an adult. You don't like play as many board games anymore. There's like a couple friends I go to a couple times a year to do some board game stuff, and that's about it.
What's like the most recent one that you've like sat down?
One I really like is it's basically it's like Dethroned, where Dethroned asks, "What if Mafia was fun?" Sorry. It's like, what if Yahtzee was fun? It takes place on, I don't remember the name, but it takes place on a stop sign, and you're basically racing to get to like the different kind of Yahtzee points. Yeah, it's if you just look, it's a Yahtzee-based dice game that's entire design is based on a stop sign, and it's basically it's like has the blackjack. If you go over, you bust, and then you lose all of your gambling that you just did in front of your friends, and it's great.
And that game
I love that.
The art's good for that game.
Huh?
The Yahtzee game the art's good. I feel like I've seen the game.
Art is subjective, man.
Yeah, I've seen the game at Barnes & Noble. It kind of looked like a PNG of a stop sign, and like it was on like I can't really remember, but the art looked not amazing.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Interesting. Okay.
It was really fun though. It was really fun. There is a nicer version that has like the stop sign on like a cloth pad, but yeah. I mean, like I'm chilling.
Okay, just for the sake of this stream, we need to close it out to get the.
If there's anyone out there, thanks.
Thank you. Those poor people.
People know.
Okay, folks, thank you so much for coming out. We're going to go ahead and close it out now. Thank you so much for the folks who stayed past, but we got to get some of our pieces back to the people who own them. Thanks for coming out, and